is where you saw pain and sweat. I'm gonna live forever. Baby, remember so many dreams. All of my life I've had so many dreams. Each waking moment and each night and day. Deep in my heart, I know it's out there, my shining star. And I know I'll find it no matter how far. They say your chance will come in time. They say just hang on tight. There's a guide. So hold on to your dreams. They say just give yourself some time. They say hang on tight. Will I see the light and will it shine on me? So many dreams. All of my life I've had so many dreams. Each waking moment and each night the same. So many dreams. So many
Pam!
Oh, hey, Ella, how are you?
I'm okay. I was going to call you, but then I saw you were coming in for the parent-teacher conferences. I just want you to know that the school is not going to be bullied by Nick McCullers. Everybody here loves Emily.
What about Nick McCullers?
Well, he came in making a big deal about how he thinks Emily's getting special treatment because she's gay. Everybody knows Emily's the better swimmer, except McCullers.
He came here to school and said that?
In front of everyone, students, teachers.
Was Emily there?
She was.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm Joe, also known as Jay-Z Productions on YouTube. I got an amazing and wonderfully talented guest. What is your name, miss?
Sometimes I forget, but mostly they call me Nia Peeples.
Welcome, Miss Peoples. I got a couple of questions for you, if you don't
You
mind.
bet.
Okay. What are you doing during these times of quarantine?
Well, I'm not following the quarantine rules so much, I have to admit, because I take my own health into my own hands, and I believe that getting out in the sun is really important. I believe fresh air is really important. I believe that my state of mind is incredibly important, and that connection to other people is really important. I honor other people. If they need to wear a mask, I wear one. If they don't, I don't. And so during the quarantine, it hasn't been exactly like I lived before, because you can't just walk down the street and get a coffee with your friends. I mean, you kind of can now. It's starting to open up a little bit. But, it's a time of deep reflection for everyone. And I think for anyone who follows a bit of a spiritual path, this is the time of the Great Awakening, which is finding the divinity within ourselves. And so anything that is based not in love is coming up for us to look at and heal. So there's, I'm going through all this personal stuff like everybody else. I'm also connecting with amazing people on Instagram. I've started a podcast with a couple of my actress friends from Pretty Little Liars, two of the other moms, Leslie Farah and Holly Marie Combs. We have this amazing podcast that's doing really well. It's called Pretty Little Wine Moms. And we've just found this amazing connection, more so in the podcast than even on the show. So that's what I'm doing, and really asking myself, Nia, who are you? How do you want to be living your life? What is the most important thing in your life? And how do you want to express that moving forward?
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
How about you?
Just been podcasting.
Hmm.
Like when I like can, or like if my game system will work, I usually stream sometimes on Twitch.
Okay.
So I just been doing
See, I don't
Yeah.
even know what Twitch is.
all good. All good. So yeah, that's my quarantine. I mainly make podcasts. It's pretty fun. I like making them.
What inspired your podcast?
Basically, I was like maybe one, like, since this whole quarantine thing, maybe I could just like interview my favorite actors and actresses. Like, gotta interview my favorite actress right here. So
Well,
figured
there you
I'd do that.
go. And look, you're making it happen. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's amazing that you're finding the the time. It's funny, we keep ourselves so busy, we often don't get to ask ourselves, what do you really want from a place of desire. We ask, the question is more like, well, what do you need to get done? But with the quarantine, there's only so much you can get done, and so maybe we get to move on to, well, what do you want? Hey, a podcast with my favorite celebrities might be it. So you're doing it. That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could if you're a YouTube channel, you said, I could link in my description. Help you guys out.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll like link out and say, check out this amazing YouTube channel right here.
Do it. PrettyLittleWineMoms.com.
Got you. Okay. What made you want to become an actress, and who was your biggest inspiration?
Wow. Okay. It's not going to be what you think.
Okay.
I was incredibly shy when I was a little girl, and very, very sensitive. And I could feel the pain that other people felt when they were being teased or people weren't being nice to them. And it really hurt me to see people treating each other that way. So I was alone a lot.
Oh, wow.
And my parents were worried about me because they knew I couldn't negotiate people because people were just too rough for me. Not even that they were mean to me, but they were mean to each other. And I couldn't understand why that was so. So they would hear me playing by myself all the time, and part of that was singing. I would always sing and play with whatever, just always by myself. And so they thought, we've got to push her out there. So by the time I hit junior high school, they were like, you need to join the choir. And they marched me down there and made me join, and just kept pushing me. And I hated every minute of it. Like, why do I have to sing in front of people? I'm so happy singing in my closet. Why do I have to do any of this? And finally, I relented and realized it was easier for me to charge in the overachievement department than to put up with my dad's. So I just went, fine. And I found that by overachieving things, I got to be alone anyway.
Oh, wow.
Because, I mean, had to work with other people, but we were working around a subject. If I was in school politics or on a sports team or something, it wasn't just people hanging out being mean to each other. It was people coming together to work towards something. And so that's how I ended up acting. I mean, I actually went to UCLA, got a scholarship to UCLA, and majored in voice. And while I was at UCLA, I met a young woman by the name of Robin Finn, and she was in the original Broadway cast of Annie.
Oh, wow.
She played Pipper.
That's cool.
And because she was from New York, she didn't have a car, and she had an agent and all of that stuff. And she asked me if I would drive her to a fitting, and I did. And they looked at me because she had a fitting for a children's series she was doing. And the producers go, oh my God, look at her little face. It's so cute. We want you to play a Siamese cat. Do you sing? Do you act? Can you dance? And I was like, sure. And I ended up being cast in a much bigger role in something else. And I got my agent from there and then started studying. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
You're a very talented actress, by the way.
Thank you. Acting was really good for me because it gave me a place to explore all the different aspects of who I am. You know, we all have this bright, brilliant, beautiful side to us. We all have this darker side. We all have fear. We all have courage. We have every different aspect of a human being we have within us. And so acting is learning how to access those different things truthfully. So you get permission to experience things that you wouldn't normally give yourself permission. Like Nia would never yell at someone, ever, back then, ever. But when you play a role of someone who is so just filled with anger or something that makes them yell at someone, you get to experience that part of yourself. And so it was really kind of therapeutic for me.
It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you have a very beautiful voice too. Like when you sing, just saying.
Thank you. How do you know my singing?
Fame. Fame.
What are you doing watching Fame? You're too young for Fame.
I was, believe it or not, my parents raised me on it, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Fame was very like it's really interesting, and I'll share this with you. You know, when I went on to Fame, voice was what I knew. And I grew up dancing, but I didn't grow up I grew up dancing in my living room. You know, I wasn't in ballet class, I wasn't in jazz class. My mom had been a flamenco dancer when she was younger, and she taught us how to hula dance. So I was a hula dancer.
Wow.
But I didn't know any of that other stuff. So when they asked me at the audition, do you know how to dance? They said, are you a dancer? And I said, no. And they laughed at me. And
Wow.
I thought, oh my God, why are they laughing? And I found out later after they cast me, they laughed because I could dance. And I just didn't consider myself a dancer because in my mind, a dancer is someone who dances 6 hours a day, you know, at the bar, the ballet bar, not the drinking bar, the ballet bar, you know, doing all of that kind of thing. And the dancers then showed me how to do it correctly because I could move. I just didn't know anything about ballet or jazz. So they taught me kind of the technique on the set. Yeah. That was a fun show. Did you watch Glee too?
I like Fame. I don't know why. I just like Fame better, in my
Fame
opinion.
is so much better. I mean, I liked the first year of Glee. For those of you who are Glee fans, you know what I mean. I loved the first year of Glee because it had sort of this humor and this kindness to it. But Fame had a bit of an edge to it.
Fame is so good. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a killer show. It was really, man, there were like 9,000 kids who auditioned that year. It was, and we had to do it in person. People don't realize it's not like, you know, you can't send in a tape. We didn't have that stuff. You had to show up, give them your picture and your resume, and walk into this big empty room and sing and dance. Yeah.
Oh, it's cool. You portrayed Nicole Chapman so well.
Thank you. Yeah, she was a little dynamo, that one, for sure. That was an amazing experience being able to be on that show. I wish more people knew it. Now, the younger generations, right? Oops, sorry.
Oh, good. Yeah, I've been trying to show my friends it, and they're like, "Ooh, it's not bad, Joe." Like, wow. I'm gonna keep on like sharing the show because
That's great. Yeah, when I go back and I look, and you know, normally I don't go back and look at anything, but now that it's so much, you know, in the last few years we've been doing these reunion concerts, it's kind of, you take pause to go back and you look and you think, man, we were really doing something back then. We were. I mean, it was, the dancing was astounding.
Yeah.
And it was dynamic, and it was more, it wasn't subtle. It was emotional, and it was passionate. And it had such a huge impact on the world in ways that I didn't understand. I remember one time when I was, how old was I? Maybe in my 40s. I went to my sister's, and she's just a little younger than me, to pick up her daughters at their school. Oh. And their daughter's mother is from Hungary. And when she saw me, she went, "Oh my God, it's Nia Peeples." And she said, "You don't understand. We were a communist country."
Oh, wow.
And we weren't allowed to watch anything except what the government gave us to watch. And when the curtain fell, all of a sudden, the first thing we saw were MTV and Fame. Wow. So you can imagine going from this very controlled propaganda kind of television in black and white to seeing kids, you know, singing and dancing and jumping, leaping from car to car. It was like, completely blew her mind. Yeah.
See, I love everything 80s, like music, TV shows, movies, like everything 80s.
Yeah. Your parents did a good job.
Thank you. Okay, what was your favorite acting role that you've done in general? Your favorite?
Wow. Well, it's an interesting thing because every role has a different thing to offer up. And for me, like, I never dreamed of being an actor. like, if I were going to get down to the core essence of who I am, it's really about love and compassion. And which is why I was such a sensitive little girl, right? So what acting did was give me the opportunity to experience being other people and gain compassion for those particular characters. But there is this thing that there is this thing that happens where you bond with that character because you become that character, and you're grateful that that character gave you the opportunity to experience these things that then bring you more compassion for other people. And there's also this thing where once in a while the role you're playing meets you where you are in your life. So Fame was the most dynamic of those for me. Fame, because of that, I would say Fame was my favorite role because it was the first time I was on a hit TV series. It was my first major role, and I was playing a character that was pretty much me, you know, wanting to get out there and auditioning and not having an agent and trying to make it happen. And, you know, and that was really cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
My mom says she thinks you're the best actress from the whole TV show.
Aw, thank you. It takes a village for sure. You know, we have to all get. Jesse was amazing. He was an amazing person to be able to work with. You know, you can't act in a paper bag by yourself. And then there's writing too. You know, so. But thank you. Tell your mom thank you.
And then I also remember I saw you in Blues Brothers Part 2. I remember these.
Okay, now that's a great series, like a great couple of movies to be a fan of. The music is so incredible. But the best parts of that movie, for me, with me and Joe Morton, were actually left on the cutting room floor because the movie was so daggone long that they left most of our really funny stuff on the cutting room floor, and it was a shame because we had a lot of funny stuff.
You're really funny and amazing and talented. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Okay, if you could pick any movie, TV show, etc., is there any role you wish you have done, but obviously you didn't, but you wish you did?
That's a really interesting question because, I mean, there's kind of two sides to that question. One is a career question, and one is experiencing a role, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
No. Maybe, you know, I got very close on Zorro, which would have been delightful. You know what? I would have loved to maybe Chicago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Velma, maybe. But she was just so delightfully kind of Velma. And it would have been fun for me at that stage in my life to go back to dancing and really, because when you get a role like that, or if it's a martial arts role or something, they push you physically, which was a wonderful part of Fame and a wonderful part of Walker, Texas Ranger, where you really get to use your body, you know, to fight or to dance or to express, and at a very high level with people who are so incredibly skilled. And how many times do you get to do that in your life?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I remember one time I did an episode of The Highlander, the series, the TV series, and the sword master, his name is Bob Anderson. He's probably passed on by now because he was in his he was like 73 back then. He was the guy who did all the sword choreography for the first few Star Wars.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Right? And he was Darth Vader. He fought for Darth Vader. And he had, meaning the double. He was the double for Darth Vader. And he had such passion about expressing with that sword. The sword for him was an extension of the scene. And so when we got into the fight, it was like, you know, his eyes were just on fire. And so it's experiences like that you go, how many times would I ever in my life get to work with that kind of a sword master.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
I love Star Wars, so when you mentioned Star Wars, I was like, oh my, I love
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay, over the years of your career, do you still keep in touch with your co-stars, directors, etc.?
Not very much, which is, and it might have been because I always had kids. So, you go, it's a 12-hour day. Most people don't realize a minimum day is 12 hours on a set. That's a minimum day.
That's long.
Yeah. It starts at 7 and ends at 7. And if you can end it at 7, you're always like, yay, we're getting off on time. Because mostly you don't. And so you're going really long hours. So the rest of the time, it's, you're buried in your family. Because that's, for me, family is everything. So I would bring my kids to the set and make everything we did a part of their lives. But what it does is it didn't leave a lot of room for socializing. I mean, we socialized on the set all day long. We were 12 hours together. The last thing you kind of want to do is like see you after. Like, no, it's okay. We went home to our families. So this right now, we're doing that podcast with the Pretty Little Liars moms, and I'm getting to know them better now than I did when I worked with them.
That's good. It's really cool.
It's way more fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, who's the coolest person you've worked with?
Oh, whoa. Wow, the coolest person I've worked with. Ooh. Oh, that's a hard question because there's a lot of jackasses in my business. I hate to say that, but there's a lot of power tripping people. But let's see. Who did I have a lot of fun with? I would say that there were more people that I had fun with on a set than like had deep, I don't know. Well, let's see. Work-wise, working with John Voight was amazing because he's so good. And Tony Plana was one of the first actors I ever worked with. The first time I ever had to cry on screen. He was wonderful. And we had this scene, and I was just a newbie. I was just a baby. This was before Fame. And we had a scene where he's my boyfriend, and he gets shot down. He's like,
oh, damn.
Yeah, in the street, and I'm like, ah, and I'm crying, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to cry. Like the first time I got to cry on camera. And he was so good. He laid there on the ground, and he grabbed me by the shirt, and he pulled me in and just acted it out. Like he was dying. And he taught me, like, focus on me. It was like he was, look at me, be with me. And by being present with him, it made me cry. Wow. And so that was a wonderful moment with Tony Plana. John Voight was really wonderful in the scene we had to do for Lonesome Dove, where I pulled a rifle on him. He was very, it was interesting because off the set, he was kind of like, I'm the actor who knows all these things. And you definitely knew there was a pecking order. But in the scene, he was right there with me and gave me everything I needed from him. And a lot of veteran actors won't do that. A lot of veteran actors will get through their stuff and then just breeze through and not give you what you deserve in that scene. And John did.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, what director taught you the most? Which director would you love to work with?
Oh. Oh my God. Which director taught me the most? Well, that's a hard one too, because I've done so much television, and in television, they rotate directors, so you don't have one director. And a lot of times, especially early in my career, you would know more than the director.
Oh, wow.
So when the director came in, and this has actually happened to me quite a number of times, I had done such a deep dive on the character that I would bring things up to the director and make them go, whoa. Like with Lonesome Dove, that was an 8-hour miniseries, for goodness sake. And it had, I think it got cut down to 6, which is almost impossible, but they brought me in, and I'm reading, the full. It's like 2 telephone books. Kids
Yeah.
might not know what telephone books are, but they're pretty daggone fat. And
I well,
they were as thick as telephone books. And I'm reading it, and I sat down when I came in before I started working. I sat with the director, and I said, "This doesn't make sense. You can't cut from this to that because she's not there. How can you?" And he just went, "Oh," and it was like a big problem because they left me. It's like they left me at the door in Seattle, and then I opened up the door and I was in New York. It was just like, yeah, like, wait, this can't. Ooh. So it caused a lot of rewrites, but directors that were really.
teleporting door, huh?
What's that?
Teleporting door, huh? Like just
That's
teleports
right.
you to
Just
different places.
teleport, right, whatever. Well, I don't know what she did, but she's pretty daggone talented. Um, uh, John Landis was fun to work with. He was funny because he's a bit of a notorious director because he can go off on people. But what I loved about working with John was that he trusted the actors. And he's like, I'm not going to bring you in until I need you. And then you can come in and I'm going to tell you how the cameras are set. And we're going to coordinate something that's funny. And then you're going to do it. And with that was so, a lot of times what'll happen is, some directors, they want to try it like this or they want to try it like that. But when it comes to that kind of comedy, like, leave me alone. We're funny together. Just let us do our thing. And he was really good about that. So I appreciated that. And I appreciated the fact that, my son, who at the time was 6, he would put him in the shop maker or sit him in his chair and, that kind of stuff. So there were wonderful directors. Alan Arkish was a wonderful director to work with. I've had directors that were literally picked up by the first AD and moved off of the set because they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, it's pretty wild out there. But anything super memorable? Not really. Isn't that weird?
It's fine.
Or maybe I just can't think about it. I have to really deep dive into this to think about it. That happens when you get to be up into like 40 years of acting. You're like, well,
If you weren't an actress, what would your career be? And what other interests and hobbies do you have besides acting?
Wow. I love writing. I've written a children's book. It's called The Little Apple Tree. And it's really not a children's book. It's disguised as a children's book. It's a really powerful little book. Very profound, very moving, very forgiving. And it's really a relationship to self book. It's about self-love.
Wow.
And for me, that's what everything is about right now. When my youngest child went off to college, which was about 5 years ago, and my marriage broke up, I just was like, okay, you've been doing the same thing for 30 years. What do you want, Nia? And I couldn't answer the question without making a list of things I had to get done. Like I was used to, what do you want, Nia? I want to get Sienna's, shoes fixed for cheerleading, and I want to get Christopher's this done. And there were all these things I wanted to get done for my family, but I couldn't answer the question based on what do you desire? I don't know. And I really believe that those deep driving desires they're like they're clues from your soul as to why you're here. Why are you here? What is it that brings you delight? And when you follow that path, the little breadcrumbs of delight, they lead you into knowing who you really are and what you have to bring here. Our society is so focused on achieving based on what we've been told is success. Like they've got us all on this pathway to achieve what they have decided is success. When really all anybody wants is to be happy and to freely express and to know that they matter and feel their worthiness and to know that they are divine from within. And so I've always been a teacher of some sort. I would probably have been an author, and I'm doing that now. An author and a teacher is probably what I would have been.
That's cool.
And done a little archaeology and maybe marine biology because I like to explore. I'm an adventurer too. Yeah.
Awesome. Believe it or not, actually, I write for fun scripts.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you handwriting them or are you using a program?
Handwriting.
Okay, there's a program you can get called Final Draft.
Okay. Final draft. I'll look that. Okay.
Look it up, and that'll help teach you kind of. I don't know if you've ever actually seen a script, like how it lays out,
Mhm.
but have you seen a script?
Yeah, like this is like stage directions and like
Yeah,
and the
the
stuff. Yep.
format. Yeah, so it'll put you right into the format.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I
Yep.
love writing. It's so fun to
Yeah,
write. It really
it's
is.
great.
Favorite band and type of music.
Oh, and that was the other thing I was going to say. I'd probably be doing way more music. Um, I would have been more of a songwriter, I think. Favorite band? Oh my God. Favorite kind of music? The thing is, I love music. Music is such an expression of culture. It's such an expression of people. I don't have a favorite kind of music. Music, I choose what I'm listening to based on what is elevating me, like what I feel like I'm in the mood for. So it can be anything from 70s music to, even a little bit of like I love Soundgarden or even some emo stuff. A lot of that stuff will pop up I'll be driving in my car and my thing will be on shuffle. And of course, over the years, my kids have all had my Apple Music account. So as they were growing up, they were downloading all this music and some random stuff would come up and I go, whoa, put that there. And then I'll go, this is amazing. Incubus, amazing.
Nice.
Bands or people that I have never heard of before. And there's so many amazing vocalists and not just vocalists. Like there's a funny thing where people can kind of stylize their way into singing, but they're missing a piece of it. So if you go back and you listen to Aretha Franklin or to Tina Turner, they're singing from life.
Yeah.
They're singing from life. And then there are people who can kind of vocalize that way, but they're missing the connection to why that vocalization happened. But there are some really amazing people coming out of Australia right now. Oh my God, I can't even think of their names. They're on my phone. So good. So I like kind of exploring all these different kinds of music.
That's cool. See, my favorite band is Queen.
Oh my God, no.
Favorite band.
This is so funny because I was at my mom's the other day, and they were what were they? They were there's something about Queen was it was an Adam Lambert documentary or something.
Oh, okay.
And he sings lead for Queen now. So they were doing all this stuff, and my mom was going, I never knew Queen was so big. And I said, Mom, I used to sit in the driveway in my little Bobcat, which is like a Pinto, and we had 8-track tapes, and I would put the 8-track tape and listen for hours to the entire, to the whole album, that very album, Bohemian Rhapsody, all that stuff. They're amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have a favorite Fame song?
Oh, no, I don't have a favorite one because each one of them was so connected to the experience of singing it. Mm-hmm. There was, there's a handful of them. So Many Dreams. I remember the song So Many Dreams was actually written for me. That was a song I did. It was in the episode. Why I can remember this, I don't know. I can't remember anything for Pretty Little Liars. But this was called The Monster That Devoured Las Vegas.
I remember that, yeah.
What a crazy episode.
Yeah.
I'm down in the dressing room and I've got this shiny
listening thing, yeah.
Yes. So many dreams all of my life I've had. It's such a beautiful song. And the musical director, his name was Gary Scott, his wife is a songwriter. She actually wrote Killing Me Softly with his song. She actually wrote that song. Oh, so what a beautiful song. So she wrote that song for me. So that's one of my favorites. But there were a lot of really powerful songs. Keep your hands off my baby. I loved that rock and roll stuff that we did too.
Mm-hmm. I also liked the Young Heroes song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I love Fame. Like, oh my God, I could talk and talk about Fame. I love Fame so much.
I love that there were no musical boundaries with that song, and they broke the third wall, and it was a license to do anything you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for singing. I was gonna ask you, believe it or not, to sing a little bit, but you just did. So thank you. you so much. You have such a beautiful voice, Miss Peeples.
Thank you.
Okay, hopefully when things get back to normal, sooner rather than later, are there any projects you have in the works?
Well, I have a website called Human Harmonics. It's at humanharmonics.life, and
Okay.
it's a community. And over there at that community, you can explore over there and you'll see what's going on. I mean, I really have been on quite an extraordinary spiritual journey for the last 5 years that took me into some magical places and into some very mystical experiences where I know that love is the only truth that exists. And if we could all have the courage just to stand up in that, the world would shift in a heartbeat. And so for me, that project, that devotion to love is expressing itself through another book called Confessions of a Serial Monogamist. I'm recording some meditations.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm playing with sounds like sound bowls and that kind of thing along with singing certain vowel sounds and meditations to help people drop back into that space, because the music and sounds can repattern you. They just do. We are frequency, right?
That's cool.
So that's something they can look at. And the Pretty Little Wine Moms. I'm teaching now acting every now and again up in the Bay Area, the Sandy Meisner technique, just for fun because I love it so much. And I'm recording some passages from a book called A Course of Love.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm doing a lot of speaking and retreats, and I mean, people are now asking me to come create courses, and so that's what I'm doing because I realize, wow, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's quite natural for me, and I love it. So we're creating retreats and courses and all that sort of thing.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, like first semester when I was in high school, when I just graduated, we actually had like a semester of meditation.
It's mindfulness,
yeah.
and it's really, really, especially nowadays, it's really important to be still.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't understand that the heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the other way around. And every organ in the body entrains to the pattern of the heart, and not just the heart has neurons, like the brain. It's both magnetic and electrical, so it's sending more signals to the brain than the other way around. And every organ is following the electrical pattern and the magnetic pattern of the heart, which is what stress is. So when your heart is kind of spazzing out because you are stressed out, none of your organs can line up with it and get in sync with it. Like the conductor of your heart is basically the conductor of your entire body, of the entire organism. And when it's not in a coherent manner, which is what meditation helps you do, or walking in nature can do it, breathing, taking your mind off of something, becoming perfectly present with something, then that's when disease starts, because your body is not functioning as one whole piece. It's all separated. Like having an orchestra without a conductor, they'll be playing all over the place.
Yeah. Right. What advice would you give younger people who also want to become an actor or an actress?
Oh my goodness. Make sure that there's a lot of advice. But first off, make sure that you, first of all, define for yourself what success means. Okay. Secondly, study. Go somewhere reputable where you get a chance to understand what tools you need to have in order to create characters, in order to be truthful under imaginary circumstances, because that's what acting really is. Study, hone your craft, and know that there are a lot of decisions that go into casting something, and it isn't always about who's best for the role. So your job, like if when I go in for an audition, my goal is not to get the job. My goal is to achieve what I set out to achieve in the development of that character. That's my goal. And that way, if I miss that mark, that's 100% on me.
Yeah.
You know, and if I make the mark, then I'm done, and it doesn't matter whether they cast me or not. There are so many other, you know, I mean, I've had directors of big movies send me flowers and say, I wish I could have cast you.
Wow.
For political reasons, we have to cast someone else. And it happens.
Mhm.
And you go, okay, well, there's something bigger going on here, because if it was meant to be, it would be. And life is leading me somewhere where I need to be. And that's where I'm going. So, yeah, stick to it. Stick to it, and know that not every script is well written. Most of them aren't. So if something doesn't make sense to you, it's probably because it's poorly written. Change it. Change the scene. Make it true for you.
Thank you. I like that advice. Really good advice. Bravo. Okay. Is there anything you want to promote or shout out?
Just Human Harmonics, if you guys, you know, want to. Human Harmonics is really a little community that we're starting for giving people tools so they understand the energetics of life and how the frequency of love is our most natural place. How do we come back to it, especially in these times? So we have a lot of free calls that are happening. We have a Heart Connect call, which is kind of like a meditation. I'm doing an astrological read tomorrow because regardless of what people think about to me, it's not astrology versus faith. Like, the moon governs the tide, for goodness sake. We know exactly what the tides are going to do because we know what the moon is doing. And so if the magnetic field and the pull of the moon is impacting the tides, what do you think the rest of the planets are doing out there? They're impacting the energy that's flowing between everything. Mm-hmm. So those are always really fun in the interpretation of them. We've got other series that are coming up. They're just free calls. You get on them and you just sign up, and then we'll send you a link and you can come on and we talk about different things. I'm also doing a course with Sunny Dawn Johnson. Okay. And it's on manifestation. And what I'm teaching is desire. It's about desire as leading the way to your destiny. Like the title is Desire in Your Destiny.
Really cool.
Yeah, we need a new guidance system. You know, we are so programmed to think that everything is about hard work, and hard work matters, but only if it's there to support what you deeply desire. Mm-hmm. You know, and something else opens up. It's like you start playing with the energy that creates worlds. Like, whoa, you know, sometimes those little drops just happen, and you follow the synchronicities, and it's like, wow, this opens up. My children's book is just like that. The little apple tree, like, poof, I wrote itself in 3 hours. And you can actually go see I read it, and my son plays guitar. If you go to YouTube and punch in my name and the little apple tree, you can see it there, and you can buy it at humanharmonics.life.
I'll link both of those. I got you.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, I thank you all so much for watching. Thank you again, Miss Peeples, for being an amazing guest. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day, everybody, and stay awesome. Thank you, Miss Peeples.
Thank you.
You can break a heart, walk away when it falls apart. You can tell your lies, you can kill with your pretty eyes. You can turn me away, but your heart will fight, 'cause you never outrun the night. And the one who knows You never ever